So, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Talk. Thank you so much for supporting Community Heroes. And today, I am super excited to interview someone that I've actually kind of followed for a while. And they may not know it, but Miss Olenka villareal, she is the CEO and founder of the Magical Playground. And today we're just going to learn a little bit about what they've done and how they have impacted the concept of playground play for families and special needs populations. So how you doing, Miss Villareal?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you, Tyrone. Such an honor to be on your show.
Well, thank you. I honestly didn't know I was going to get a chance to interview the CEO. I just went out on a leap of faith and said, let me email and see, can I get a bite? And, when I got the email back so quickly, I was like, oh man. Ew. So
You know what? We can spot a man doing magical work, and we love to find people just like you to speak with. So thank you for reaching out.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna hop into our questions, and like I said, please feel free to add anything extra that you would like to. So I want first of all, I always start off by asking our guests, can you tell me a little bit about the hometown that you were raised in?
Mm. Well, I was raised in, and I'm speaking to you from Palo Alto, California, which is about 45 minutes south of San Francisco. And many people know Palo Alto as the birthplace of Silicon Valley and is synonymous with innovation and forward thinking and progressive thinking, which is why we find ourselves in the perfect place to talk about a new kind of playground.
Yeah. I never had opportunity to go to California, but I would love to one day go out and visit. And it just looks so nice when I see it on television.
Please
So,
do.
my next question I'd like to ask you is, well, I didn't just ask, but I was going to ask right now, where do you currently reside? But I think you just said that where you reside in. So I move to my next question. Can you tell me a little bit about your educational background and work experience?
Yes. So my educational background was that I received my undergraduate degree from Pomona College in Claremont many, many years ago in economics, and then went on to get a master's in marketing. So have an MBA from Golden Gate University, and spent almost 20 years doing what I call typical technology Silicon Valley work. So I worked with some large companies, some small startups, and then found myself doing this work. But my professional background is in marketing and in sales for high-tech companies.
Okay. So I have a question about all-inclusive playgrounds coming up next, but I think I kind of jumped the gun when I was putting my question together, because the story of what went into you wanting to create the bridge is very important. So if you can you kind of give us a little background about what was the driving force for you to really want to go into creating all-inclusive playgrounds?
Yes, happily. Yeah. So, as I was earlier referencing my career, I have two daughters. The first daughter, Emma, who was born first. And I had a wonderful experience taking her to playgrounds when she was little. I would meet friends and have, fun, and the community would get together. And then when Ava was born, now Ava is 18, but when Ava was born, going to a playground became a very different experience. She was born with disabilities, multiple disabilities, some physical and mostly cognitive. And I recognized that there were no public playgrounds for me to take both of my kids. I wanted to find a place where both kids had a good time and they had what they needed. And I recognized here I was living in sort of the center of innovation, and our own playgrounds, while they were compliant to ADA law, did not work for my family. And as a result, I approached the city and asked them what other playgrounds were available so I could take Ava swinging. She couldn't hold on to the ropes for the swings, and she needed the movement. And so they basically said, well, we don't have the kind of playground you're looking for. Why don't you design and build what you think we need? And a non-playground person, non-design person, I had the sort of the startup enthusiasm in my blood and thought, well, sure, I'll find a playground somewhere on the internet that I think is great and invite my city of Palo Alto to do something like that. But I didn't find it. And as a result, spent 7 long years researching, doing all kinds of work, and then raising money privately to build the Magical Bridge here in Palo Alto.
Wow, that's something. I mean, almost a decade, and like you said, you along with probably a handful of other people have had experience in those things, and it's sad to say that for so long that there weren't playgrounds like that, the Magical Bridge, and there's other ones popping up now in other states, all inclusive, but disabilities and the emergence of individuals integrating into society is nothing that happened recently. It's been happening for a while.
Yeah.
And not to take over the question, but I just want to put my piece in. I remember myself.
Yes, I wanted to ask you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have what's called myosin deficient muscular dystrophy. So it's a progressive disease, and it's from birth. But mine, over time just progressed to the state I'm in now. But I remember in grade school, especially in school, you had those PE days and you had those tests you had to take, and a lot of times watching others do things that you wanted to do, and then you went to. For me, my parents, really were they were poor. My dad really didn't drive, so every so often I had the luxury to go to the park. Somebody would take me, or sometimes we have a field trip or something with the school. But even then, having poor balance is something anonymous with, having a lot of times physical disabilities. I couldn't get on a lot of spin wheels because I might fall over, and there was never no one there to help me do the activities. I basically had to watch. And then the new thing now, my son, I have a 4-year-old son.
Oh.
So I'm in an interable relationship, and when going there with my son, some parks, he goes and plays in the park when they're saying there, so that limits when they, so there's a lot of dynamics even now that have need to be addressed. But things like the magical playground, I love so much it encompasses that, and that families can go there and have fun.
Tyrone, I just really want to thank you for sharing that, because that is exactly why Magical Bridge exists. It is for the family, for parents that want to play with their maybe physically disabled children. If you come to Magical Bridge, Tyrone, you can play and be everywhere with your son. In fact, I'm sitting here. You see my background. This is the top of our playhouse, treehouse. So our board members, we had several that used wheelchairs and had small children. They couldn't play with them. As you know, the tan bark is not friendly to a wheelchair. And in the grand scheme of things, what we discovered is, while we truly appreciate the valiant efforts of friends of ours here in the Bay Area, people like Jim Lebrecht, as he profiled in Crib Camp, they worked tirelessly to create the ADA law. But at the moment, the statistics show that about 10% of people with disabilities are wheelchair users. So 90% of other disabilities are not even considered in something as vital as a playground, whether it's somebody with autism, somebody with sensory differences. My own daughter has no diagnosis, but she's very different developmentally as she is cognitively. So she's an 18-year-old physically, and taller than me, but she is completely nonverbal in diapers and really at a preschool level developmentally. So what you just shared is that we feel, you've indicated there are other parks. I would really be interested to see, I would love to see more playgrounds being built like Magical Bridge. We go way above, we sort of start where ADA leaves off. We make sure that there is truly something that everybody can do and everyone's welcome. At the moment, we are continuing to innovate because the playground industry is not innovating. They don't have to innovate really because they meet the law. And so we are taking that on with Stanford University and some other individuals that help us. But we really invite you to come visit with your 4-year-old. I think you'd have a magical time. Come and see our playgrounds.
Oh well, if I would love if you just send me the plane ticket, the paperwork,
Oh, okay.
we're there.
You
All I
know
need.
what? Magical things happen when you get it into the universe. So let's talk about it later. But yes, so you have a 4-year-old, and going to a public playground may not be the easiest experience, I'm imagining, for you to go with your child to play together.
Yeah, it's always whenever we do go, we have to. I always look for playground that had the word all inclusive because at least I know I can at least most of the time ride around to every spot of the playground.
Mhm.
Most of the time, and most of the time they'll at least have a ramp on the, I guess you would call it like the tree house. I don't know, figure stuff that you like the climb on, and like I went to one in Raleigh here. It was called oh man, it was called like something park, but we went there and I mean it was really nice. It had the little rubber mat stuff, and it had a big old jungle tree house thing, and I was able to ride my wheelchair from the end all the way up to the top, to all around the corner. And I was able to follow him, and he's 4, so everything he does is like, "Look, Daddy, you ever think I can do this? Did you ever think I can do this?" And I'm like, "Yes, sir. I did. I didn't know." He said, "Do you believe I could do this?" But he said, "Do you ever think this?" So,
Well, and yeah, not to get us too, well, this is part of the topic too, but guess what? The wheelchair accessibility, that is the law, right? So you being able to enjoy, rolling and riding around is really the law. But who is overlooked? The 1 in 68 that have autism. So for instance, the playgrounds, those structures that are in most of the public parks, most of our schools, that frenetic activity that goes on in a structure is extremely unfriendly and overstimulating to children and adults with autism. Another thing that ADA compliant parks today don't mandate is a fenced in environment. So you and I and your child may not think about this, but there are many people with autism that run off of a playground very quickly, and many public playgrounds are next to a busy street, but fencing it in is not mandatory. So we have a fence that keeps people in and they're safe, and parents can relax knowing that if their children or adults want to run, they won't get hurt. So there are so many different things that we consider above and beyond what a visitor in a wheelchair would benefit from. So I think the moral of the Magical Bridge story is that we design for everybody, the
yeah,
visible and the invisible disabilities and their families, right? So most families will have someone that benefits from a design that welcomes everyone. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to really ensure everyone's welcome.
yeah, and that's so important. Like you said, they always know those, and especially those invisible disabilities. A lot of time they kind of get a
That's right.
blind eye because you can't see them, and people don't
That's
realize
right.
someone has them.
That's
Uh,
right. That's
yeah. So I think we kind of went into the other question I was going to ask about the years that it took creating the playground. We talked about it was about several years. I think you mentioned that went into the creation of the playground. Uh, so and then we kind of talked a little bit about the Magical Bridge playground, but I didn't know if there was, as we were talking, was there anything specific that you wanted to maybe mention about the playground that we didn't mention?
Well, I mean, I really could go on and on, but I'll try to do it in a nutshell. So, what makes the Magical Bridge different, what makes the Magical Bridge really magical and special is that, as I say, we really take away the physical barriers to make sure that the social barriers also come down for people. We really believe that a public playground is often that first outdoor classroom. And when people see others in the community that may be different than them, when they enter the school environment or in a public setting, they will, be familiar with this family. Bullying happens in our schools many times because children don't understand there are many different people in the community. If they don't interact with each other in a very typical setting like a playground, they are unfamiliar or uncomfortable, and then that's when the bullying happens. So for Magical Bridge, we create wonderful programming. We have kindness ambassadors that work on and off the playground. For us, it's more than the physical space. It's really that reminder that there are many people that live in the shadows of our communities because there are no places designed for them. I mean, it's not like you don't enjoy going to a playground, but you'll go to those that are designed to be welcoming of your family. And so our goal is to make sure that what we do reflects what we say the developmental milestones, right? So as a child, perhaps that's typically developing is growing, they run and they spin and they slide. And for many kids, that just seems like fun, but it's actually building muscle. It's actually creating balance. It's creating brain development. And in my daughter's case, she needed the movement of a swing and still to this day can't sit in a swing because she can't hold on and she's uncomfortable. But that movement, the opportunity to move, goes away if you physically are limited by a space, right? So in our playgrounds, we have them divided into zones. So you go in and there's a spinning zone, there's a swinging zone, a movement zone, an innovation zone. And that means anybody you come into, you can access everything that we have in our playground. So on any given day, we get between 25 and 30,000 visitors a month, and everybody's there. And so it becomes not a special playground. We say we don't build special needs playgrounds because there's nothing special about needing a place to play, right? So we are trying to create a space that's fun, so more places become like a Magical Bridge. You can design for everyone. There are ways that you can make it fun for everyone. We're trying to show by example. That's what we do.
Oh man, yeah, that's awesome. And I think we really, with the next question I wanted to ask, I think we kind of really honed in on the question, which the question was going to be, what is the message that you hope individuals take away from the whole concept of the Magical Bridge? And I think you really captured it with that last sentence. You said that you wanted to create a space that everyone can enjoy and have fun. And I think that kind of summed that question up there.
Yes.
Um, so I'm hopping to my next question. I know you guys have done some awesome things and touched so many lives thus far, but is there one particular milestone or milestones that you can think of that you've achieved since the creation of the Magical Bridge?
Well, I really, that's a great question because the milestone for me is, I mean, I find myself astounded every step of the way. I was astounded that, private people gave me $4.5 million to create a playground when I've never built a playground, right? And then when we opened, we started the foundation. And shortly after that, Magical Bridge, our group was invited to represent social impact out of Silicon Valley at the World Economic Forum in Davos, which is a very prestigious international platform. And we were amazed that building a playground for everyone would still be so innovative. And so, I mean, Tyrone, we must have a whole stack of awards that we collect. And for me, it's a bit almost embarrassing that what we've created is so needed and seems so basic to create a playground for the whole family, multi-generational, and yet we are innovating something new. And I wish we were further along in this world. But I think as far as what I'm most proud of is just that this has really, we've ignited a movement, certainly here in the Bay Area, where our local government has set aside a significant amount of funds so that we can create more of these magical bridge playgrounds. They recognized that people were driving, 3 or 4 hours to come to our space. And so they wanted to create one in each of the communities here in the Bay Area, in the Northern California area. So we started our foundation about 5 years ago, and we are now working on about 14 different projects. And very proud of the fact that our group is also redoing the school playgrounds to make school a little bit more magical for those of all abilities. And with each playground, we affect the whole community. So I think people recognize that even with the best of intentions, they have overlooked many people in our communities. And so what we say is we design for the body you're born in, the one you're living in today, and the one you're going to grow old in. And those bodies are 3 different bodies. And whatever your body is, you are considered in the design of a magical bridge. So I'm delighted at the progress. I wish we could build more and our foundation was a little bit larger so we could bring it to communities around the world, because we see the huge benefits that they bring, not only to those that have disabilities, but to typical developing, if you will, children and families, so that they interact in a normal environment, if you will. So it's not like someone's driving you to a facility to volunteer. It's a very organic interaction that you have at a playground, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I wanted to just briefly mention, if I can, on one part of you mentioned about how doing something that seems so basic has garnered so much notoriety, and like I think you mentioned how you are surprised that steps haven't been further along in this field or this area of interest. And I just wanted to mark, I think it's moving more so now because of just the time that we're in with technology and how technology is enabling individuals that have hidden and physical disabilities to be more vocal, and compared to maybe 30 years ago when that technology wasn't there. And once you got out of the school system, you were more so either getting government assistance or maybe relying on a relative to help you with finances. But now you have a lot of small business owners who have disabilities. There's grants out there that are targeting people who have physical or non-physical disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening is individuals like myself are going on to have families and demanding these kind of parks, and we're demanding transportation. And I think that's the big difference. I do believe we're going to see more parks because there's going to be more enabled families like myself that says, I'm disabled and I want to enjoy my child in the park and other places.
But I think, Tyrone, more than that, the statistics, as you know, right, show every 4th person in this country has a visible or invisible disability, right? And so it is the largest sort of minority group in this country. And it's a group that any one of us can be a member of at any time, right? A car accident, a walk across the street without checking both ways. And next thing you know, oh, I'm in this group now. the same community that I used to go to is no longer welcoming me because it's not designed to accommodate what I need, right? So if we do more design work like this that does include everyone, it doesn't have to be more expensive. It's just more thoughtful design. And you intend to do better than what's out there, and you go a little above what the law tells you to do. It does create a more welcoming and kind society, which I would assume everybody would want to be a part of. So, yeah, we shouldn't have to be demanding it. It should just sort of be the way it is. But until we get to that point, what we try to do is create it so that it's so magical that everyone has a great time, but they recognize that in this place, they will find people that they typically don't see in public spaces because they are not able to, some of these people are not able to be part of these spaces. And so it's a shame. It should be this way for everything. We're starting with the kind of the first community outdoor place that people interact in, which is a playground. It shows sort of everybody has been to a playground, goes to a playground at some point in their life, and there are so many varieties, and we want to be the best, show the best possible, and hope that it trickles down into other design ideas. And so we really do hope to invite you and your family, and one day I do hope that we have a magical bridge closer to where you live. And are you in North Carolina right now?
Yes, I'm in North Carolina right now.
Carolina.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you ever been to North Carolina?
I haven't. No, I'm afraid I have not.
Yeah. Well, the part I'm in is Goldsboro, and we always say you never know. For one moment, it could be hot. Next week, it could be rainy. Then the next week, it could be cold. You can all four seasons in 1 month sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting. It keeps you kind of I guess an ever-changing wardrobe.
Yeah. So I got two more questions and then we'll be done. So the next question I want to ask is for our viewers that will be watching this video when we finish editing and all that good stuff. Could you let them know where they could connect with you or the Magical Bridge on social media platforms?
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, we have a very active group on Facebook for those that are still enjoying Facebook. That's typically more community oriented, Magical Bridge. And we have a website, which is magicalbridge.org. And then, of course, anybody that wishes to reach me can do so just by my first name at magicalbridge.org. And my first name is Olenka. But all of that is on our website. And we do just wonderful programming. I could go on and on. We have kindness kits that people can download for free for either the school or at home environments, ways to really amplify kindness from the most organic way that extends into our homes, into our communities. And, we can't necessarily change the world, but we can change perceptions and communities, one family at a time. And I think those that have gotten to know our families, I say people like my daughter Ava, who has disabilities, have found her to be joyful, and they've learned many things that have benefited their lives. So it's a way to connect people in a most magical way for a great outcome for the community.
And and the last question, and I think you kind of touched on a little bit, but if our viewers wanted to support the Magical Bridge in any way, what are just some of the different ways they could do that?
Well, thank you. On our website, we have the projects that we are currently helping raise money for. So one of the things that makes Magical Bridge Foundation different than any other design firm at the moment is that not only are we designing with the lens of creating spaces and places for all abilities, but we also take on some fundraising aspects of our work. So we partner with cities, and then we actually help find the remaining funds many times. So magicalbridge.org is where we profile who we are working with at the moment and where we're raising money. Or you can support the foundation as well.
Okay. All right. Well, Ms. Olenka, I enjoyed our interview. Thank you so much for just taking the time out to interview with Community Heroes. Again, maybe we can touch bases again a little bit later on in the year and just see how the year's been going on with you guys. I would love to just hear how things are going. And our viewers, again, please check their website out and like our video, subscribe and comment. And until the next time, we'll see you guys again.
It's been a pleasure, and you are a true hero, Tyrone. Thank you for the good work you're doing here.
Okay. Thank you.